Madam President, the Democrat Party's motto this year might as well be free stuff. Free health care, free college, free debt relief, free child care, free income. The problem, of course, is that the old adage, there's no such thing as a free lunch, is 100% true. Health care has to be paid for by someone. College has to be paid for by someone. Democrats, of course, think they should all be paid for and often controlled by the government. But what they don't like to talk about as much is that the government has to get its money from somewhere. And that somewhere is from the American people. Now, if you ask Democrats how they're going to pay for all of this free stuff, what they'll say is that they'll tax the rich. The problem is, Madam President, there simply aren't enough rich people to even come close to paying for the Democrats' free programs and expansive policy proposals. Forbes magazine reports every year the combined net worth of the 400 richest people in the United States. But if you took every penny from every one of those people, it would be a tiny drop in the bucket next to the cost of the Democrats' proposals. Free health care alone, and these are by conservative estimates, would cost $32 trillion over 10 years. Taking every penny from the richest people in the United States wouldn't even cover 1 year of that proposal. In fact, you could take every penny from every billionaire in the entire world, and it would still only cover roughly 28%, or less than 3 years, of Democrats' Medicare for All proposal. And that's just free health care. That's not the Green New Deal or guaranteed income or free child care or anything else. But what if we move away from billionaires? How about millionaires, even millionaires? What if we taxed every household in the United States making more than $200,000 at a 100% rate for 10 years? Well, we'd still barely have enough to cover free health care, much less Democrats' other proposals. But let's look at one of the Democrats', what I would say relatively smaller proposals, and that's student loan forgiveness and free college. Now, no one can deny that student loan debt is a problem in this country. Many graduates emerge with tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt that they struggle to repay and that burdens them for years. It's a growing problem. In ways to alleviate this burden and encourage more affordable education are conversations that we need to have. But the free college and debt elimination solutions offered by two leading Democrat senators are no solutions at all. The United States government is not swimming in money. We are deeply in debt, and we already need to shore up existing programs like Social Security and Medicare, both of which are on shaky financial footing. Paying for a college education for millions of Americans is not something the government can easily afford. The senator from Vermont's plan for free college and student loan forgiveness would cost approximately $2.2 trillion over 10 years. That may not sound like much when compared to Democrats' budget-busting plan for government-run health care, but it is still a lot of money. The entire federal budget for 2019 is less than $5 trillion. And that's supposing that the senator from Vermont's proposal comes in on budget, which seems unlikely. For one thing, when you offer something for free, demand for it generally increases. The senator from Vermont is making his estimate based on today's numbers. But what happens when demand skyrockets? The federal government could be on the hook for far more than the senator estimates. And these proposals would do anything but incentivize colleges and universities to lower the cost of tuition. Now, both the senators who have proposed free college and debt elimination plans this year have said they will pay for it. The senator from Vermont would impose a financial transactions tax, while the senator from Massachusetts would impose what she calls an ultra-millionaires tax on the very wealthy. But as one Wall Street Journal editor highlights in a recent column, this is unlikely to cover the costs. I quote, "Financial transaction taxes chronically underperform estimates of the revenue they'll generate, and wealth taxes are so ineffective that even France scrapped its version in despair in 2017. Much heavier middle-class taxation is what feeds European social welfare states," end quote. And it goes on to say, and much heavier middle-class taxation is likely to be the end result of Democrats' proposals like free college and student loan forgiveness. But even leaving aside the cost, Madam President, let's talk about the merits of the Democrats' proposals. For starters, there is the sheer unfairness of these plans. Let's suppose one of these proposals becomes law. Now, suppose you're someone who has lived frugally for years and you've just finished paying off $30,000 in student loans. You're not going to get a penny back from the Democrats. Meanwhile, someone who has just incurred that $30,000 in debt is going to get it completely wiped out. No need to live frugally or think about paying off the debt you've freely incurred. The debt will just be gone. Then there's the fact that Democrat proposals for free college and debt forgiveness are not going to solve the education debt problem. The director of the Education Policy Program at New America, not a conservative think tank, by the way, recently published a column in the New York Times where he noted that the senator from Vermont and the senator from Massachusetts' proposals for free public college would, and I quote, not eliminate future student debt. Not even close. That's because most student loan debt isn't taken out to attend undergraduate programs at public colleges and universities. Most loans are used for private colleges, for-profit colleges, and most of all, graduate school, end quote. And as the column points out, that's not something that free public undergraduate education will fix. In fact, the column notes, the day after Senator Sanders hits the reset button, as he put it at his news conference, the national student debt odometer would begin rapidly spinning again. So, Madam President, what can be done to help those struggling with student loan debt? What can we do to help while still maintaining fiscal responsibility and preserving a respect for honoring the commitments that you've made? Well, one Democrat senator and I have a proposal that could definitely help. The senior senator from Virginia and I reintroduced our Employer Participation and Repayment Act earlier this year. Our legislation would amend the Education Assistance Program to permit employers to make tax-free payments on their employees' student loans. Right now, employers can contribute to their employees' tuition if their employees are currently taking classes, but they can't help employees with education debts that they've already incurred. Our bill would allow them to help with employees' already existing student loan debt. This would be a win-win situation. It would be a win for employees who would get help paying off their student loans, and it would be a win for employers who would have a new option for attracting and retaining talented workers. Our bill would not be a silver bullet, but it would certainly help ease the pain of paying back student loans for a number of young Americans. I also look forward to seeing other efforts to help alleviate the burden of student loan debt in a feasible and fiscally responsible way. I know Republicans on the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee are working on legislation to make it easier to pay back student loans. Another big thing that we can do is to make sure that graduates have access to good-paying jobs. And thanks to Republican economic policies over the past 2 years, our economy is thriving. Good jobs are being created, and wages are rising at the strongest pace in a decade. All of that can go a long way to enabling people to pay off their debt. And Republicans, Madam President, are committed to building on the economic success that we're experiencing and expanding opportunities even further. Madam President, free college makes a great bumper sticker, but it doesn't make very good policy. We need to address the problem of student debt without weighing down the economy or hardworking Americans with massive new government spending and massive new taxes. The Employer Participation and Repayment Act is a step in the right direction, and I hope to see it receive a vote in the very near future. Madam President, I yield the floor.